Geoff was elected chair of the board in May of this year and has been on the board since 2006, so he has a deep and pervasive knowledge of the business of the port. He was elected by the board to a second term as vice chair in October 2009, and he continued in this position until his recent election as chair. He currently sits on the Governance, the Seaport and Human Resources and Compensation, and Gateway Strategy committees, so he is indeed very well versed in the rhythm and the business of this port. Geoff is a senior partner with the law firm Stewart McKelvey, where he serves on the firm's Regional Partnership Board and the firm's Human Resources and Governance Committee. His law practice is diverse, with particular emphasis on the fields of construction, insurance, product liability, commercial litigation, as well as corporate governance counsel. He was awarded the Queen's Counsel designation in 2003. That recognized his professional integrity and his outstanding contributions to the law profession. In addition to being a very busy man professionally, Geoff is actively involved in the community, devoting his time to a number of organizations, including as a member of the Board of Directors of Symphony Nova Scotia, where he chairs its governance committee, and as a member of the Board of Governors of the Halifax Grammar School. He has also enjoyed involvement with the United Way's Leadership Giving Campaign and with the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia. There are probably a few of you in this room that remember his spectacular endeavors to channel Freddie Mercury on a fundraiser recently. We understand the pants that he wore have been donated to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. Thank you for that, Geoff. Okay. Geoff is married to the former Kim Sanford, and he has 3 boys, Andrew, Matthew, and Maxwell, and I would hope each of you will have the opportunity to meet Geoff during the proceedings today. With that, I would like to welcome the Chairman of the Board of Directors, Geoffrey Machum, to the podium.
Well, good morning, everybody. I was really enjoying George's recital of my CV up until about the time he started talking about the Freddie Mercury rendition. I've tried to bury that in my memory, but I know there are other people in the room, including my good friend Jamie Bailey, who's performed for that worthwhile cause, and it really is quite something to do. It does put you in a different stage of mind. So I promise not to talk any more about red leather pants or Freddie Mercury, but I do also want to assure you right up front that despite the lofty title of this event as the Chairman's Breakfast, I had absolutely nothing to do with the food preparation. So please rest assured, I do want to thank RCR and the great people here at Kennard Centre for preparing this meal. It's fantastic. They do a great job every year. I also want to thank CN for putting on a fantastic reception last night. They are directly responsible for my voice being a couple octaves lower this morning. Likewise, I'd like to thank the great people from Ceres for putting on again the golf tournament yesterday and bringing it in not just on time, but just before the first droplet of rain we've had in Nova Scotia this summer. So thank you for that. And finally, I'd like to thank Joyce Carter and her group with the Halifax Gateway Council for sponsoring this breakfast so generously as they have in past years. Joyce is a great friend of our port. She's a great friend of the Gateway Initiative. She's collaborated well in her capacity as vice president of the airport in many missions and many initiatives that we've undertaken. So I thank you, Joyce, for your personal commitment. We will hear shortly from Minister Smith, who will bring greetings on behalf of the province, and also from the Deputy Mayor, who I think will be joining us, Bill Karsten. Great, thank you. Yeah. So we will hear more from them. We have also, as George mentioned, a very distinguished guest in the form of Mr. Stewart Beck, the High Commissioner to India. Stewart is a very, very accomplished man in the fields that we are all concerned about in trade and promoting trade for Canada. His previous venture before becoming the High Commissioner for India was doing work with the Asian Pacific Gateway. And we had always, to be honest, looked very jealously at things that they were doing out in the West Coast, and Stewart probably is responsible for that in large measure. So thanks, Stewart, for setting a great example for us to follow. We have him here for a while. He has to leave after, but if you get a chance to talk to him, please do. Karen Oldfield, our CEO, is not here today. This is her first port days that she's not been part of. She's joined with the Premier's trade mission to Asia. And lest anybody questions the value of those trade missions, I just want to say that 50%, almost 50% of our container traffic now originates from that region. Now, for those that were around 10 years ago, they'll recognize that that is a major change, and it's one that we have to be ahead of the curve on. And I applaud the province and Premier Dexter for leading that mission, and I applaud the private sector for participating in that mission as they have. These have to continue. In my experience, you go there, you show up, there's good uptake, there's great response, but if you don't come back in a timely way, your competition are there shortly after. So if you're not there, you're not in the game. The other thing I wanted to say is you've read a lot about the port lately. In the lead up to the port days, we've made several announcements, not the least of which is the new Panama Canal Memorandum of Understanding. And that's no small accomplishment. This is, of course, a project that is going to involve a very significant widening of that facility by the year 2015, which is not long off. And I'm proud to say that we are the first port authority to have reached an agreement with them that would involve cooperative marketing and business development. Just having our port way up here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, on their radar in an official way can only help us. And as I say, we're the first there. It's that kind of initiative that will keep us in the game for years to come. I'd be remiss if I didn't comment on the incredible amount of infrastructure work that is being done here at the port. It's there for everybody to see. It involves work, of course, at Halterm and Richmond terminals and other locations. And in our travels in the port industry, the one message we get time and time again is that unless you're growing your infrastructure, you're not in the game. It's simple as that. And so these investments now may appear to be at times, well, is it the right time to do these sorts of things? It's never too early. And I applaud the federal government for all of their support, in particular Minister McKay for his great interest in promoting the interests of the Port of Halifax, both here and internationally in his duties as Minister of Defense. So I do want to say a big thank you to them for that. We have an accomplished board, I believe, that there are here with us today. Mr. Hector Jakes is with us, Anne Galbraith, Ted Larson, our new Vice Chair, David Henderson, who conveniently arranged for Tom McGuinness to be elevated to the Senate so that he could then become the Vice Chair. And I'm very proud of the work they do and everything that they've done, Trevor Johnson as well. And so I thank them for all their work through this past year and look forward to working with them in the year to come. So I don't really consider that I have much more to say other than introducing our great speakers here this morning. I would simply ask you to look when you go outside the building this morning at the massive cruise ships that are sitting all around us, and they frankly make these facilities appear a bit dwarfed. And nobody has missed the fact that this year has been, again, a banner year for cruise business in Nova Scotia. There's over 130 vessel calls. That is an extremely strong year and a very, very competitive business. I would add this as well. We all walk the waterfront. We all go to the seaport market at times, and one of the constant refrains I hear from visitors to this city is, what a marvelous waterfront you have. It's just stunning. And having been to other ports, I can assure you, as you've probably seen, including other cruise terminals, this is one of the finest cruise terminal waterfronts in North America, if not the world. So I applaud the community for making that happen. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Minister Smith to come up and say a few words. I do warn you that he, like me in his previous day job, was a lawyer. so he may speak on in that, just wanting to get back to his roots, but a very well thought, a very well respected lawyer ran the Nova Scotia Legal Aid office up in Antigonish, and of course we all know that he is now a recently appointed Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, which is, as I just discussed with him, no small portfolio. He succeeded Minister Bill Estabrooks, which is no small feat, and so I'm very pleased that he's taken time to join us today and look forward to his greetings.
I'm honored that Premier Dexter has asked me to represent the province of Nova Scotia at this morning's breakfast and the kickoff of Halifax Ports Days 2012. The history of the province of Nova Scotia and the history of the Port of Halifax have been intertwined for more than 200 years. When the British chose Halifax as their base of operation back in 1749, they did so because of this fine harbor. That decision made us a military center. And as the port developed, Halifax also became a center for shipbuilding and a center for shipping and receiving of goods and people. Nova Scotia still benefits from all these things that happened so many years ago. Look no further than the Ship Start Here campaign that is going to mean hundreds of jobs for Nova Scotians, or the cruise ships that are regular and welcome visitors to our capital. I'm sure you all know that the province is an enthusiastic participant in developing the Atlantic Gateway because we know the benefits will be felt far beyond the borders of Halifax. In fact, the province's gateway participation actually started in the Transportation Department, and such gateway guys as Kevin Ham and David Oxner were at our department before moving over to Economic Development. So at Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal, we have an extra appreciation of the importance of the Port of Halifax. I understand that the trade show booths here are top-notch, and I know that you'll find your business sessions later today both useful and informative. The province of Nova Scotia is proud, through the Nova Scotia Gateway Secretariat, to be a platinum sponsor of Port Days, and on behalf of Premier Dexter and the province of Nova Scotia, I extend best wishes for continued success during Port Days. Thank you.
I'd like next then to call upon Deputy Mayor Karsten to come up and give greetings on behalf of HRM.
My goodness, we've got so much to be excited about, and it seems like we're a little tad quiet this morning. Certainly thank you, Geoff, and thank you for the invitation to be here. Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, and there are many, far too many to mention. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure on behalf of our mayor and my colleagues on Regional Council to be here with you today to bring warm greetings. As you begin another special few days of something that we've come to know and celebrate as Port Days. As mentioned by Minister Smith, from our founding days in our fair port, the city of Halifax and the harbour has always been the economic engine. The Port of Halifax is an integral part of the economic development of the Atlantic region and has become widely known as Canada's Atlantic gateway to the world. The Port of Halifax has always been visionary in attracting new businesses, developing new partnerships, and increasing the cruise line business that we've all come to know is an incredibly important part of our growing business in the port. In fact, as I mentioned at our table, I've had the distinct pleasure as well to be on a lot of the cruise ships when they make their inaugural port. And you know, it's important and can't be lost on us that each and every one of the passengers that come here and celebrate our city go back to their communities and praise what we have here in Halifax. And the message, I guess, there is sometimes we take for granted what we have, but these people encourage us to celebrate our community. Your theme, Emerging Supply Chains Through Halifax, is very fitting. And over the very next days, you will learn about the initiatives that are underway which will result in major capital projects and investments in Atlantic Canada. These opportunities will greatly influence the supply chain through Halifax. This potential will translate into more volume and more diverse cargo moving through our port, which impacts the industry, job creation, and local economy. We take this opportunity to commend those that were involved, as Geoff alluded to, in the announcement that Halifax is the first port in Canada to sign an MOU with the Panama Canal Authority. No small feat, and something we should all be very proud of. And something else for us to celebrate. On behalf of the Halifax Regional Municipality, I would like to wish you the very best over the next few days and pronounce that we, the elected folks in City Hall, are very, very proud of the work you do. Thank you.
So what makes this place work so well is all of you. We have stakeholders galore here. We have the 2 terminal operators, we have the shippers, we have the stevedores, we have everybody in the supply chain, the customers, of course, that are all here and moving goods through this port and making it as successful as it is. And it's not just a single component that makes it work, it's the whole collaborative effort. So I thank you as chair of the Port Authority and on behalf of the Port Authority for all that you do. It's absolutely vital. We see it every day, and when you read things about the Port of Halifax, the successes that we have, it ain't one person, it's the whole group of us doing what we do. So thank you for that. And enjoy the rest of your day here. We have a great lineup. You'll see the program. There are some excellent speakers, excellent panels. There is the Lobster Bash tonight, which always brings out a good crowd. And we don't have speeches at that because, frankly, nobody wants to hear anybody on stage except somebody singing. So, and I'm not going to do that. The one thing I would say, we had about 2 years ago, had the American Association of Port Authorities in town. And it was one of the few times they actually have their annual meeting here in Canada. And they're still raving about how great this place is and what a great place it is to be and what great partiers we are in Nova Scotia. So I bring that message back to you. We are succeeding in that regard for sure.